Two people. Same age. Same city. Same salary. Same amount of money in the bank. One buys a house. The other keeps renting. 20 years later, one owns a home worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. The other has an investment portfolio so large that even he is shocked by how much it has grown. Who made the better decision? The answer is probably not who you think. Because almost every rent versus buy debate you have ever heard is missing something. One side shows you a house that doubled in value and says, "See? Buying wins." The other side talks about freedom, flexibility, and investing and says, "See? Renting wins." Both sides leave out the uncomfortable details. The costs nobody wants to mention. The mistakes people actually make. The math that changes everything. And the one question that determines who becomes wealthier in the long run. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly when buying a home makes sense, when renting is the smarter move, and why this decision can change your financial future by hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if you're tired of being broke, tired of making financial decisions based on opinions instead of facts, and serious about building real wealth, subscribe right now. Because on this channel, we don't follow financial myths. We follow the numbers. Let's begin. Meet Daniel and Michael. They're both 32 years old. They both earn $80,000 a year. They both have $70,000 saved. They both want financial security. They both want to become wealthy. And they both believe they're making the right decision. Daniel buys a house, a beautiful 3-bedroom home in a nice neighborhood. Price, $350,000. He uses his $70,000 savings as a down payment. Signs the paperwork. Gets the keys, walks through the front door, and feels like he's finally winning at life. Michael decides to keep renting. He rents a similar home for much less per month. He keeps his savings and invests his money into low-cost index funds. His friends think he's crazy. You're throwing money away on rent. You're paying someone else's mortgage. You need to buy before prices go even higher. Michael hears all of it, but he sticks to his plan. Now, here's the part almost nobody talks about. The moment Daniel buys that house, he doesn't become richer. He actually becomes poorer. And not by a little, by a lot. Because buying a home costs much more than the sticker price. There are closing costs, legal fees, inspections, insurance, taxes, lender fees, moving expenses, furniture, repairs. Suddenly, his $70,000 savings is almost gone. This is the first big mistake people make. They think buying a house starts with equity. No, buying a house starts with expenses. Massive expenses. And then comes the mortgage. This is where things become even more surprising. Most people believe their monthly mortgage payment is helping them own more of their house every month. But during the early years of a mortgage, most of your payment doesn't go toward your house. It goes to the bank. Imagine paying nearly $2,000 every month, and only a small portion actually reduces your debt. The rest? Interest. Gone. Money you'll never see again. The phrase renting is throwing money away sounds smart. But here's the truth. In the early years of a mortgage, you're also throwing away a lot of money. Interest. Taxes. Insurance. Maintenance. Those expenses don't build equity. They don't increase your ownership. They simply keep the roof over your head. The difference is that one payment is called rent. The other is called homeownership. Now let's talk about maintenance. Because this is where many people get financially punched in the face. A house looks beautiful when you buy it. Everything works. Everything feels perfect. Then life happens. The water heater dies. The roof leaks. The air conditioner stops working in the middle of summer. The plumbing starts acting up. The paint fades. The driveway cracks. And every single problem has one thing in common. You pay. A house is not just an asset. It's a machine that constantly needs money. And the bigger the house, the hungrier the machine becomes. This is why some homeowners feel trapped. Their house may be increasing in value, but it's also constantly demanding cash. Now let's look at Michael. He's renting. If the water heater breaks, he calls the landlord. If the roof leaks, he calls the landlord. If the plumbing fails, he calls the landlord. His housing costs are lower. And every month, he invests the difference. Month after month. Year after year. No excuses. No market timing. No panic. No waiting for the perfect opportunity. He simply invests. Because wealth is built by consistency. Not excitement. Not predictions. Not luck. Consistency. This is where compounding begins to work its magic. At first, it feels slow, painfully slow. The account barely moves. Nothing exciting happens. Most people quit here. They stop investing because the results don't feel big enough. But then something incredible happens. The money starts making money. Then that money starts making more money. And eventually, growth begins accelerating. It's like pushing a giant rock uphill. The beginning feels impossible. But once the rock starts rolling, it becomes incredibly powerful. This is why investing rewards patience. The biggest gains often happen after years of doing something that feels boring. Now fast forward 10 years. Daniel's house has appreciated. His equity has grown. He feels proud. And he should. Owning a home can absolutely build wealth. But it came with sacrifices. Thousands spent on repairs. Unexpected bills. Property taxes that kept increasing. Insurance costs that kept rising. And responsibilities that never stopped. Owning a home is rewarding. But it is not cheap. Meanwhile, Michael's investment account has grown significantly. His original savings have multiplied. His monthly investments have compounded. He has built wealth too. And here's the surprising part. In many situations, the renter who invests consistently can have a larger net worth than the homeowner. That sentence makes some people uncomfortable. Because we've been taught one thing our entire lives. Buy a house. Buy a house. Buy a house. But money doesn't care about traditions. Money cares about behavior. And this brings us to the most important part of this entire video. The renter strategy only works if you actually invest the difference. That's it. That's the secret. Because most renters don't. They spend the extra money. They buy expensive cars. Take more vacations. Upgrade apartments. Eat out more often. And slowly increase their lifestyle. Every pay raise disappears. Every extra dollar gets spent. And 20 years later, they have no house and no investment portfolio. This is why so many people believe buying always wins. Because for the average person, a mortgage becomes forced savings. The homeowner has no choice. Every month, money goes toward the house. Every month, equity slowly grows. Every month, they become a little wealthier. Not because they're financial geniuses, but because the system forces them to stay consistent. And consistency is one of the most powerful wealth-building tools in existence. Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. Building wealth has less to do with intelligence and more to do with behavior. You don't need to be a financial expert. You don't need to predict the stock market. You don't need to know what interest rates will be next year. You need discipline. The ability to keep going when nothing exciting is happening. The ability to ignore fear. The ability to delay gratification. Because wealth is usually built quietly. It's built in ordinary months. Ordinary decisions. Ordinary habits repeated for decades. Now imagine 20 years have passed. Daniel has a huge amount of equity. His housing costs have remained relatively stable compared to rising rents. He can finally see the finish line. One day, the mortgage will disappear. And that changes everything. Meanwhile, Michael's portfolio has become enormous. But his rent keeps rising. There is no finish line. No day when the payments stop. No day when housing suddenly becomes almost free. This is why the answer to this debate isn't simple. Buying wins in some situations. Renting wins in others. Buying often makes sense if you plan to stay in one place for many years. If your mortgage payment is close to what rent costs. If you want stability. If forced savings helps you stay disciplined. Renting can make more sense if you're likely to move. If home prices are extremely expensive. If flexibility creates better career opportunities. And most importantly, if you genuinely invest the difference every single month. Because this entire debate comes down to one thing. Behavior. Not theory. Not opinions. Behavior. If you buy and constantly stretch yourself financially, buying can hurt you. If you rent and spend every extra dollar, renting can destroy your future. The winner isn't the homeowner. The winner isn't the renter. The winner is the person who builds assets consistently. The person who controls their emotions. The person who sticks to a plan. Because money rewards patience. Money rewards discipline. Money rewards consistency. And that's why two people with the same age, the same city, the same salary, and the same amount of money in the bank can end up in completely different financial situations. Not because one got lucky. Not because one knew a secret. But because one made small, smart decisions over and over again for years. Your future isn't decided by one big financial decision. It's decided by thousands of small decisions. The extra money you invest. The unnecessary things you don't buy. the patience you show during difficult times, the discipline to stay the course. That's how wealth is built. So before you ask yourself whether you should buy or rent, ask yourself a more important question. Who are you? Are you someone who can invest consistently for 20 years? Are you someone who needs forced discipline? Are you someone who values flexibility or stability? Because the right answer isn't the same for everyone. But one thing is true for everyone. The longer you wait to build assets, the more expensive your future becomes. So make a plan, commit to it, stay consistent, and let time do the heavy lifting. Because financial freedom isn't built in one day. It's built one decision at a time.